three mighty machines. We're talking the Bentley Continental GT, we're talking the BMW M5, and we are talking the Aston Martin Valiant. All three of them revealed in the same week, literally within 2 days of each other, and staggering machines. They all come out. They just come out now. I put news up on them on my Facebook page. By the way, facebook.com/browncarguy. That particular channel, I know I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, and of course I'm on Facebook. On Facebook in particular, I do put a lot of news updates. So if you'd like to get the latest of what's happening in the car world, cars they're coming out, what's being released, etc., etc. A lot of that I tend to put directly onto my Facebook page. Not even on browncarguy.com, which is more feature-based. I put more features on browncarguy.com, but the newsy stuff, I tend to put it straight onto my Facebook page. So if you like to stay up with those sort of things, make sure that you are on my Facebook page. So I uploaded these three stories onto Facebook with the pictures and everything like that, where people could see them. And here's the thing. Did I see, once I put up these three incredible machines, you know, two of them have got 1,000 Newton meters of torque. I put up these three machines on my Facebook page. Did I see a surge of excitement? Did I see massive clicks and sharing? Did I see people going, whoa, these are crazy? Did I see people saying, where can I get a poster? I did not. Why? Why are we not getting excited about these kind of incredible cars? Let's have a look at that. A brown car guy. Right, so first of all, let's actually have a look at the three cars individually. Let's just go through them. So let's start with the Bentley. So the new Continental GT, it's actually a plug-in hybrid. In fact, two of these three cars are actually plug-in hybrids, but that's inevitable. And also, no, I don't know if the M5 is a plug-in hybrid. The M5 is a hybrid, so that's not correct for me to say that. But the hybrids, two of the cars are hybrids. And it's not that surprising. And to be honest, it's like, I don't think that should count against anything nowadays, because the hybrid systems nowadays, they range from like full-on hybrids, which are basically EVs with an engine in them, to cars that are actually full-on petrol cars, but have a motor and a battery to just help things along and to try and lower their emissions a little bit. And these cars definitely fall into that latter category. So I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, yes, of course, the Bentley is a plug-in hybrid, which means it does actually have, you know, the ability to go so far on just electric power alone. But you and I both know that that's not really what it's about, and that's not really what the owners care about. Now, they say that this is the all-new Bentley. By the way, they're saying this is the most powerful production Bentley ever made. The most powerful production Bentley ever made. I'll get back into how much power it's actually got in a minute. And also, they didn't just release the coupe, they released the convertible at the same time. Now, they're calling it the 4th generation car. Now, I think Bentley have a track record of being a little, shall we say, stretchy when it comes to these sort of things, because it's in my eyes, it's the 2nd generation, and it's still the 2nd generation that's already been out for a few years. Because even if you look at the 1st and 2nd generation according to them, because they're saying this is the 4th generation, the 1st and 2nd generation were the same cars. You know, honestly, there wasn't that much difference, just some tweaks on it. And they've done the same thing again, because the 2nd generation, what they're calling the 3rd generation, what I would call the 2nd generation, it came out in 2018, which was about 6 years ago. And it was brilliant, actually, to be honest. It was completely different. It was considerably different. The styling, the interior was amazing. I have reviewed that car. I reviewed it both in the UAE and actually drove it here as well. And I just loved it. And I'd driven a lot of the previous Continental GTs. I'd driven them several times. I'd spent time with them. So the step up that I saw between the 1st and 2nd generation, as they're calling it, to the 3rd generation, as they're calling it, I thought was massive, because that 3rd generation car, that car that was introduced in 2018, was just gorgeous. The designing was just like now spot on, the right amount of detail, the right amount of flow in the shape and the design, the right amount of detailing in the headlights and the grille, but the interior also was absolutely exquisite. So I thought it was really good, and I think it was better to drive as well. just not in terms of performance, because even the old one was terrific in performance, but in terms of handling and the stability and its road holding, the newer one was better. So this one, latest one, which they call in the 4th generation, which I'm just going to call generation 2.2, I suppose, is just really an update. But they have made some changes to it. So now this double headlights have gone, which is a bit sad actually. I'm kind of sad about it because it's like an identity thing to me. It's got a single headlight now, it's actually similar to the Batur and the what do you call it? The Bacalar, which I always call it the Baklawa. Yeah, I just call it the baklawa because I don't know why they didn't. They should have just called it the baklawa. But anyway, it's the Bacalar. So it's similar in design and style to that. And they've gone with the speed variant first. So this is why they're saying the most powerful production Bentley ever, because what it's got 4-litre twin-turbo V8 with 584 brake horsepower and a single scroll turbochargers. Plus, it's got 188 brake horsepower electric motor that's housed within the transmission, so it's really just there to help. And it helps with even the gear changes and stuff like that. And it's mated to a 25.9 kilowatt battery pack, which is actually mounted behind the rear axle. So not in the floor, so it's not like a sandwich floor thing. It's actually at the back. And the thing actually it's based on, so if you remember that, according to them, that Series 1, Series 2 Continental GTs were actually the same platform as the Volkswagen Phaeton. You remember that one? It was a Volkswagen Phaeton underneath, that's what it was. So it's a stretch limo car. But I guess the reason why the 2018 car, their 3rd generation, well, I say this, the 2nd generation, improved so much was because it was based on a Porsche Panamera. And of course, this one still is based on a Porsche Panamera. So in total, what do you get? So I told you the individual power outputs for the petrol engine and for the electric motor, the combined horsepower is 771 brake horsepower. 771 brake horsepower, 738 pounds for the torque, 1,000 Newton meters. The thing weighs 2.5 tons, but it will go from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 3.2 seconds. And it will carry on to 100 miles per hour in 6.9 seconds. That is absolutely staggering. Of course, it'll get to over 200 miles per hour, 208 actually. And I think they achieved the record for the fastest car in a tunnel somewhere. So that's what they've done. Price hasn't been released yet, but you can expect it to be over £200,000 easily. Hey, are you enjoying this video? Then make sure you hit the like button. It's very important. Plus, comment, share, and make sure you subscribe. Let's look at the second car, which is quite a thing. It's called the Aston Martin Valiant. Now, the Aston Martin Valiant is a track-focused version of the Velour. I said that completely wrong, haven't I? Velour. That's not Velour. It's the Valor. Valor, yeah. The Valor, the Aston Martin Valor. That car and this Valiant is based on an original commission that no less than F1 champion Fernando Alonso commissioned from Aston Martin of a Valor. And so they've turned that into a production car and they're calling it the Valiant. Only 38 of these are going to be made. And the deliveries will start at the end of this year. Compared to the Valor, which was the one that it's kind of derived from, it is derived from the Valor. There were 100, and there are some similarities in the design, but actually there's something else that they're similar to. I'll come back to that in a minute. But there were 110 Valors, and they were over £1 million each. That was the Valors. This new one, there's only 38 of them, so you can imagine like that's going to be quite a bit more. By the way, the Valor, you might have seen that recently on Instagram posts and TikTok, whatever. TikTok, fancy TikTok, TikTok or whatever, because it's been spotted out and about town with celebrity superstar chef Gordon Ramsay. He's a bit of a car guy. He's definitely a car guy, and he's been driving around one. So and literally like driving it around. So he's certainly got one. So that's £1 million each for those ones. So what I was talking about the styling. So actually, this is based, the Valiant is derived, but it's got more slats and stuff at the front. It's derived from the styling of the Valor, which I thought was quite nice looking. but not as nice looking as the vehicle that I think the styling is originally inspired from, which I saw in person a few years ago when it was first revealed here at the Hampton Court Concourse of Elegance, which was the Aston Martin Victor, which I thought was such a cool throwback to sort of 70s style Aston Martin, but in a modern shape. Now, the interesting thing is that it's easy to assume then that this is just an evolution of those cars. Not really, because underneath the Victor was based on the 177 Aston Martin, if you remember that thing, that one-off thing. And not one-off, but I mean, you know, that limited edition car. So whereas the new ones, the Valor and the Valiant, are actually based on the same, they're derived from the current DB11 Vantage chassis. So they're based on the current cars. So you can expect, like I said, only 38 units to be made, so you can expect it to be about £2 million. Like I said, I still prefer the look of the Victor compared to these. But having said that, it does look pretty cool. The Valiant has a deep front splitter. It's got new carbon fiber grills. Like I said, it's got those interesting slats at the front. And that's supposed to increase cooling to the brakes, which have been uprated as well. At the back, there's 4 exhaust pipes, and there's a fixed wing that sits above the camtail type design at the back. It actually uses a 3D printed subframe to save about 3 kilograms, and a magnesium torque tube, which saves another 8 kilograms. So that actually, along with actually 21-inch magnesium wheels. So there's a weight saving of over 14 kilograms on this thing. Which of course is always a good thing, isn't it? Now, what has it got under the bonnet? It has got a 5.2 litre twin turbo V12 engine that puts out 735 brake horsepower and 735 Newton meters of torque, so about 555 pounds-foot of torque. And that's actually a 30 brake horsepower increase over the Valor. So that's actually more power. And it still has a 6-speed manual gearbox, which is incredible. And not only does it have a 6-speed manual gearbox, but it has, I mean, the interior is beautiful on this car, but the entire mechanism for the gear lever, if you look at the center console and stuff, is completely exposed. It just looks absolutely exquisite, and it's probably an absolute bastard to keep clean, because it's going to be a nightmare, really. Also quite interesting, I thought, was no buttons on the steering. So it's just like a regular steering wheel. So it's like there was no distraction, no nothing. And it's interesting that a Formula One driver would commission it that way, considering how many buttons and things that if you've ever seen a Formula One steering wheel, I mean, it's like, how do they even, like, you know, it's all, I mean, everything is on the steering wheel, obviously, but how do they even manage? And there's so many little things that they have to be doing. It's incredible. It's mind-boggling. But no, for his Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso said, no buttons on the steering wheel, please. Nothing at all. So there you go. Brilliant. So anyway, so that is the Aston Martin Valiant. Sorry to interrupt the video, guys. Hope you're enjoying it. In the meantime, I wanted to tell you about this. It's my first novel, The Ulez Files. It's all about cars. It's for you guys. Get your copy now at Amazon.com. Then we move on to the BMW M5. Now, my goodness, you remember the days of the M5 when they first came out, and even as recently as, like, what was it, a few generations ago, when it went to V8, when it went over 400 horsepower, and we all went crazy and we all lost it. The latest one is obviously based on the current 5 Series, which I have reviewed. The current 5 Series reviews, I've done it as the i5, I've reviewed it, and I think I've also reviewed the hybrid. That review is on this channel, so you can check it out. So hopefully I'll put a link above, whatever. So I reviewed it, but of course not the M5. So the M5 now is based on that 5 Series, which is the G60 series. And the M5 shares the powertrain. So the M5 powertrain actually is shared with the XM, so that big hulking great big thing. Now there's interesting about that came out, was it last year? Recently anyway, and it was pretty staggering. It's quite a brutish looking thing. I actually quite like it. I know a lot of people are like, but I actually quite like it. I think it looks like quite squared off, chunky, with these kind of, you know, contours and stuff in it. I quite like it. It looks quite cool, and it's extremely powerful and bonkers fast. But apparently it hasn't done that well from what I've heard, and there are some rumors at the moment going around that that's it. There's not going to be a replacement for that car. They're going to kill it off there and then, which some people are like, good. I'm like, well, it's more choice for people. So anyway, but if it has done well, it hasn't done well. So fair enough. So the powertrain in this M5 is taken from that car. But it does mean that this is a bigger, heavier, faster, and more complex M5 than ever before. It's expensive as well, £110,000 for this car. And under the bonnet, it's got the 4.4 litre twin turbo V8. And like I said, it is a hybrid. In total, it's got 717 brake horsepower and 738 pounds-foot of torque, which of course is 1,000 Newton meters of torque. 0 to 60. Now remember, this is a luxury saloon car, and it's a big old heavy thing, as we've just said. In fact, I can tell you that it weighs 2,435 kilograms. Is actually 465 kilograms more than the previous M5, the F90, sorry, F90 series M5 competition. It's nearly half a ton heavier than that car. Despite all of that, it will do 0 to 62 miles per hour, 0 to 62 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds. 3.5 seconds. That weight, that size, that big, that brutal. 0 to 60. And it will reach just a smidgen short of 190 miles per hour, this thing. I guess that's if you take the limiter off, because I guess you need the competition pack or whatever to do that, because I'm sure that the normal ones will be restricted. The V8 is the S58 unit. So as I've said, we've seen that elsewhere. Now, the electric motor is similarly to what we said about the Bentley, is actually in the transmission. So once again, it's a hybrid that's kind of assisting things rather than taking it over. So it's actually in the transmission. It's it mated to an 18.6 kilowatt hour battery, and the whole thing that adds about 220 kilograms. So the battery is under the floor, so it is actually sandwiched in this case. So the battery has a little bit more to it, I guess. So you can actually run the e-motor independently, driving through the transmission. In fact, they say that in electric-only mode, so if you drive it only as an EV, it's 195 brake horsepower EV with 206 pounds-foot of torque, with an 87 miles per hour top speed and official range of 43 miles. Why would you do that if you had an M5? Why would you deliberately make it impotent? Why would you castrate the thing? I mean, honestly, but you could if you wanted to. Anyway, if your daily commute is under 40 miles, which actually for a lot of people it is, then you could do that. But why would you? So like I said, there's quite a lot of extra weight for it. 50 kilograms is just the motor, but it is bigger. It's got the bulging wheel arches. I actually think it quite looks cool. I like the way it looks. I think the grille and everything, it's nice. I like the design is nice. The side profile is pretty cool. It's quite a standout car, but it is a substantial thing. And is it something I mean, as you know, I have a BMW. Is it something that I'd personally be interested in? Out of the current generation of BMWs, yeah, sure, I'd like to give it a try. It could be something that I'd be interested in. But I mean, I have to say, out of the current cars, the one that I'm probably most interested in, the one that I'd most like to sample myself, and honestly just for personal gratification, is the M2. The current M2, and I've driven a previous M2 competition. I drove at Yas Marina Circuit. I laughed my head off. It was just hilarious. I was just shouting in joy. It was just brilliant. So I'd love to try the new one, or the current one, I should say. I think they've just updated it with even more power, but it's got twin turbo 3 litre straight 6 on that one. And I think it's over 450 horsepower, something like that. But it's got a 6-speed manual gearbox, I just think that's a lot of fun. So those are the cars. Those are the 3 cars that have come out. Like I said, I posted those 3 cars on my channel. I didn't see a huge amount of reaction. Okay, so this is on Facebook. I've had 9 reactions to the M5, no comments. I've had about 13 reactions to the Aston Martin Valiant. The only comment is that it would probably still have squeaky brakes from one of my regular commenters on there, which I get where he's coming from. And with the Bentley, it had 16 reactions, and again, just the one comment which was really like, what's your opinion on it? Well, I mean, fortunately, hopefully in this video, I quite like it. I think it's a handsome beast, the Bentley. I missed the double headlights, to be honest with you. I think I actually prefer the double headlights, but I still think it's a good looking thing. So that was my comments. Then later on, I posted them all together to try and get some reaction out of people. So I posted all 3 pictures together, and I said, what do you guys think of this? And honestly, like, again, I only got 3 reactions on it. And in terms of comments, we didn't get too much. There were 3 comments on there. Clive said, I like a freshly minted Bentley, but overall, meh. Wow, that's telling. Tim Ansell, good buddy of mine, he said, the Canadian one, yes, the German one's not so much. Simon Elliott, and he said, an Aston Martin that doesn't look like every other Aston Martin, I find it hard to tell the difference normally. Oh wait, I was wrong. It looks like the Valor, because it is. At 2 million, you can take my money, and you won't want to give me a loan. So, I'm guessing he likes it. But there was a little bit of a hesitation. There wasn't like, I mean, I wouldn't say that was overflowing enthusiasm. I would say that, there was just like, yeah, okay, it's, it's nice. Compared that to, I found this for sale, and I just put, it was on Bonham's Cars online, and they had a 2005 BMW M5 E60 model with a manual conversion. Now in the American market, they came with a manual, but we didn't get them as a manual, so this had a manual conversion, 6-speed manual, and I just shared that across. It had 28 reactions and 6 comments. So this is for an older M5 from 2005, and people were more excited about that than they were about the brand new one. Similarly, we talk about Aston Martin or whatever, I posted a picture, or this was also for sale, an old Rover SD1, if you remember those, a 1982 Rover SD1 model, and that also got 12 reactions and 3 comments, and most of those were generally really from people that were really fans of that car and got really excited about it. So it's quite extraordinary, and the thing is, like, what does it tell you that, I post these, these older cars and people get really excited. I post these brand new, very exciting, very powerful cars, and it's like tumbleweed, honestly. It's like tumbleweed, So what's happening? What is actually going on? What's putting people off? Are they too pricey? Well, they're not cheap, and for most people, I mean, the most attainable one out of those would be the M5, but that's 110 grand. I mean, goodness sakes. Are they irrelevant? 1,000 Newton meters on cars that, where are you going to drive them? Where are you going to get up to those sort of speeds? Where are you going to be able to deploy that sort of power? Is that what it is? Is it that there's just too much of this sort of thing? Back in the day, supercars didn't come along that often. These things came along like buses, and like nothing comes along, and then suddenly 3 of them came out in the same week, 2 days apart. 3 superpower 700 plus brake horsepower cars came out together. Back in the day, that'd be like one every few months, and then you'd get excited. You'd have time to think about it and get excited about it, to lust after it, to get posted, to stick it on the wall, and you'd be like, whoa, and to chat about it with your friends, and that sort of stuff. Nowadays, it's like every other week. It's like, oh look, 700 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, 3.2 seconds, 3.5 seconds. It's becoming a joke. Back in the day, we thought nothing short of a Caterham could do that, and now it's like, you've got this big heavy things that are doing that. It's just staggering. Damn, they need stopping power, I'll tell you that much as well. So are there just too many of them? Are there just too many of these things coming out? Or is it that we need stories? If you remember, you think about the Ferraris that came out, you related to Enzo Ferrari, you knew about the stories, you knew about the history, you knew about the racing heritage, then Lamborghinis came out, you knew about Ferruccio Lamborghini, you knew what drove him, you know that he got angry with Ferrari, you know the history behind these cars, there was a character, there was personality, then there were cars themselves when they came out, the Ford GT40, you know what the reason for that was, you know what the history behind that was. Then there were cars that came out and did things with rallying, so with the Audi Quattro, even the Lancia Stratos, So there were stories, there was something behind them, that it wasn't just the vehicle itself, but it was something that gave it personality and soul, so to speak, Or could it be something even worse? Could it be that we're just losing interest in cars? That nowadays it's just not that exciting anymore. We've reached the pinnacle. Maybe we've gone over the pinnacle now. And the pinnacle was somewhere back in the 90s. And now we're just like, it's just whatever, So I'm not really sure, I'm actually not really sure about what it is that is not managing. These manufacturers are putting tremendous amount of engineering into producing these incredible vehicles, and they put them out into the market, and people are like, meh, why? What is actually happening? I want to hear from you on this one, to be honest with you, because I'm actually not sure myself. Like I said, I've got a number of theories as to what might be happening, but it'd be good to get your feedback, and maybe we'll come back to this in another future video. Shout out time, guys. Thank you so much. Hey, if you enjoy my content, why not get involved? Buy me a coffee. You can do that at either of these links, or if you're watching on YouTube, buy me a thanks or take out a membership. It all helps. It really does.